What would you do if helping a stranger cost you the most important job interview of your life? Would you walk away? Keep your head down? Pretend you didn't see someone struggling right in front of you? Have you ever faced a moment where doing the right thing seemed like it would destroy everything you've worked for? Where kindness felt like a luxury you simply couldn't afford? Well, Noah Carter faced exactly that choice on a rainy Tuesday morning. And what he decided in those crucial seconds didn't just change his life. It rewrote his entire destiny. But before I tell you how one act of compassion turned a missed opportunity into the breakthrough of a lifetime, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were just one chance away from changing everything? Like your whole future hung on a single moment, a single decision, a single interview? If you're nodding right now, if you've ever carried the weight of your family's hopes on your shoulders, then you need to hear Noah's story. Because what happened to him proves that sometimes the universe has bigger plans than the ones we make for ourselves. Noah grew up in a neighborhood where dreams felt dangerous, where hoping for too much could break your heart. His single mother worked herself to exhaustion as a nurse, pulling double shifts just to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. Every dollar she earned went toward survival, not success. But Noah was different. Even as a kid, he saw possibility where others saw dead ends. While his friends accepted that their zip code determined their destiny, Noah refused to believe it. He studied by streetlight when the electricity got cut off. He walked miles to the library when the bus fare ran out. He turned every setback into fuel for his determination. When that community college scholarship came through, it felt like a miracle. Computer science classes opened up a world Noah had only dreamed about. But even with free tuition, he still worked evenings delivering food and waiting tables, sending every spare dollar home to his mother. Sleep became a luxury. Rest felt selfish. But Noah never complained because he could see the finish line. That moment when all the sacrifice would finally pay off. That moment arrived in the form of an interview invitation from Dalton Innovations. If you don't know the name, you should. They're the tech company revolutionizing sustainable energy. The kind of place where brilliant minds solve problems that matter. Getting an interview there wasn't just rare, it was life-changing. For Noah, this wasn't just a job opportunity. This was his family's ticket out of poverty. This was proof that all those sleepless nights, all his mother's sacrifices, all the times he chose textbooks over food, it was all worth it. The night before the interview, Noah couldn't sleep. Not from nerves, but from excitement. He rehearsed answers until sunrise, pressed his best shirt 3 times, and mapped out his route to arrive 30 minutes early. Everything was perfect. Everything was planned. Everything was finally falling into place. If you believe that hard work always pays off, that good things come to those who wait, smash that like button right now. Because Noah was about to discover that sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as the worst possible timing. But here's what Noah couldn't have known as he left his apartment that morning, clutching his portfolio like a lifeline. The woman he was about to meet on that rain-soaked sidewalk would hold more power over his future than any interviewer ever could. And the choice he was about to make would prove that missing the right opportunity can lead you to something infinitely better. Let me tell you about the boy who learned that survival meant sacrificing everything except hope. Noah Carter's earliest memory wasn't of birthday parties or family vacations. It was of his mother, Maria, sitting at their kitchen table at 2 a.m., counting out bills with shaking hands, tears streaming down her face as she tried to figure out which utility to let go unpaid this month. He was 7 years old when he first understood what poverty really meant. Not just having less than other kids, but watching your mother choose between groceries and keeping the heat on. Not just wearing hand-me-down clothes, but knowing that every dollar spent on you was a dollar taken from something else your family desperately needed. Maria Carter was a force of nature disguised as an exhausted nurse. She'd sprint between hospital floors during her first shift, then drive across town to work nights at a different facility. 16-hour days became her normal. Sleep became her enemy. But every morning, she'd wake Noah up with a smile and remind him that education was the only ladder out of their situation. "Baby, your mind is the one thing nobody can take away from you," she'd whisper as she braided his school lunch money into his shoelaces so the older kids couldn't steal it. "Learn everything you can, and someday you'll lift us both up." Noah took those words and turned them into his religion. While other kids played video games, Noah haunted the public library. When the librarians closed at night, he'd study under the parking lot lights until security guards chased him home. When their electricity got shut off, which happened more often than either of them liked to admit, Noah would walk 2 miles to a 24-hour diner, buy a single coffee, and study in the booth until sunrise. His teachers noticed something special about this quiet kid who never missed homework despite everything working against him. They started slipping him extra textbooks, staying late to help him with advanced concepts, and eventually nominating him for every scholarship they could find. High school was a battlefield between Noah's dreams and his reality. While classmates worried about prom dates and college parties, Noah worked 3 part-time jobs: bagging groceries before school, tutoring younger kids after school, and stocking shelves at a warehouse on weekends. Every paycheck got split the same way: 60% to his mother for bills, 30% for his own school supplies and transportation, 10% saved for college applications and testing fees. There was no room for movies, new clothes, or the social life that might have made those years easier. But Noah had something his peers didn't: a burning certainty that this wasn't his permanent situation. This was just his starting point. The community college scholarship felt like winning the lottery. Full tuition coverage for computer science classes. Noah's passport to a world he'd only read about online. But even with free education, the struggle continued. Textbooks cost hundreds of dollars each semester. Lab fees, parking permits, student activity costs, they all added up to amounts that might as well have been millions. So Noah kept working. Food delivery during lunch breaks between classes. Waiting tables at a family restaurant from 6 p.m. until midnight, then home to study until 3 a.m. before starting all over again. His classmates complained about being tired after staying up late playing games. Noah learned to function on 4 hours of sleep while carrying a full course load and working 30 hours a week. His professors worried about him, but Noah just smiled and assured them he was fine. He wasn't fine. He was running on pure determination and caffeine, held together by the knowledge that every day brought him closer to changing his family's story. Comment below if you or someone you know has ever carried the weight of their family's dreams. Because what Noah was about to learn is that sometimes the universe rewards those who refuse to give up, but not always in the way you expect. By his second year, Noah's grades were exceptional. His professors started talking about internships at major tech companies. His coding projects caught attention from industry professionals who visited the campus. Slowly and possibly, doors were starting to open. But Noah knew that potential meant nothing without execution. Applications cost money he didn't have. Interview clothes required investments he couldn't make. Even the bus fare to travel downtown for meetings stretched their already impossible budget. Maria started picking up extra shifts, pushing her body beyond its limits to help fund Noah's future. She'd come home so exhausted she could barely speak, but she'd still ask about his classes, his projects, his dreams. She believed in him with a fierce intensity that both inspired and terrified him. Because Noah understood something that kept him awake at night. He wasn't just pursuing his own success. He was carrying the hopes of a woman who had sacrificed everything for his chance at something better. Failure wasn't just personal disappointment. It meant letting down the person who had given him everything. The pressure was enormous. The stakes were everything. And when that interview invitation from Dalton Innovations arrived in his email inbox on a random Thursday afternoon, Noah felt the entire weight of his family's future settling on his shoulders. This was it. This was the moment that would determine whether years of sacrifice would finally pay off, or whether he'd have to watch his mother work herself into the ground for nothing. But here's what Noah didn't know about the morning that would change everything. Sometimes the most important interviews happen when you're not trying to impress anyone at all. Sometimes the people who change your life are the ones you meet when you're too focused on helping someone else to worry about helping yourself. Noah discovered Dalton Innovations the way most broke college students discover their dreams. By accident, during a late-night research binge fueled by desperation and instant ramen. He was working on a project about renewable energy systems when he stumbled across an article about a company that wasn't just talking about changing the world. They were actually doing it. Dalton Innovations had developed solar technology that could power entire communities for half the cost of traditional energy sources. They weren't just another tech startup chasing profit. They were solving problems that mattered. Noah spent the entire night reading everything he could find about the company. Their mission statement made his heart race. Technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. Their projects weren't just impressive, they were meaningful. Solar farms bringing electricity to rural communities. Wind systems powering schools in underserved areas. Battery technology that could store clean energy for days. This was exactly the kind of work Noah had dreamed about since he first learned to code. But dreaming about working somewhere and actually getting hired were two completely different worlds. Dalton Innovations was the kind of company that recruited from MIT and Stanford, not community colleges. Their entry-level positions required experience that Noah simply didn't have. Still, something inside him refused to accept defeat. Maybe it was his mother's voice reminding him that closed mouths don't get fed. Maybe it was the memory of every night he'd studied under streetlights, promising himself that someday all the struggle would mean something. Noah crafted his application with the same intensity he brought to everything else in his life. He didn't just submit a resume. He built a portfolio showcasing every project he'd ever completed. He wrote a cover letter that told his story without asking for pity, highlighting his problem-solving abilities and genuine passion for sustainable technology. He researched every employee he could find on LinkedIn, studying their backgrounds and career paths. He learned about the company's recent projects, their challenges, their goals for the next 5 years. If preparation could overcome privilege, Noah was determined to prove it. For 3 weeks, Noah heard nothing. He checked his email obsessively, refreshing his inbox between classes and during work breaks. He started questioning whether his application had even been received, whether he'd been naive to think a company like Dalton Innovations would take a chance on someone like him. Then, on a Thursday that started like any other, the email arrived. "Dear Mr. Carter, we were impressed by your application and would like to invite you for an interview." Noah read those words 15 times before they felt real. His hands were shaking so hard he could barely hold his phone. He called his mother immediately, and for the first time in months, he heard pure joy in her voice. "Baby, I knew this day would come," Maria whispered through tears. "I knew all that hard work would pay off." The interview was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 9 a.m. Noah had exactly 5 days to prepare for the most important conversation of his life. He borrowed interview clothes from a friend who worked at a bank, pants that were slightly too long and a shirt that was a size too big, but clean and professional. He practiced answering common interview questions in the mirror until his responses felt natural. He researched the interviewing team, memorizing their names and backgrounds. Subscribe if you believe that preparation meets opportunity, but sometimes life has other plans. Noah knew he'd only get one shot at this. Companies like Dalton Innovations didn't give second chances to kids from his neighborhood. This interview had to be perfect. Every answer had to be thoughtful. Every question he asked had to demonstrate genuine interest and industry knowledge. The weekend before the interview, Noah walked the route from his apartment to Dalton Innovations 3 times, timing each trip to ensure he'd arrive early. He researched the building layout, identified the closest coffee shops in case he needed to kill time, and even checked the weather forecast to plan his outfit accordingly. Monday night, Noah laid out his clothes, printed extra copies of his resume on the good paper he'd splurged on, and organized his portfolio for the 20th time. He set 4 different alarms, terrified of oversleeping and missing his chance. As he finally tried to fall asleep, Noah allowed himself to dream about the life this opportunity could create. A stable income that would let his mother cut back her hours. An apartment with reliable electricity and heat. Maybe even enough left over for small luxuries they'd never been able to afford. But most importantly, this job represented something money couldn't buy. Proof that hard work could overcome circumstances. Proof that his mother's sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Proof that sometimes, against all odds, the good guys really do win. Noah had no idea that in less than 12 hours, he'd face a choice that would test everything he believed about success, opportunity, and what it truly means to win in life. Tuesday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that makes you believe good things are about to happen. Noah woke up before his first alarm, his body humming with nervous energy. He'd managed maybe 3 hours of sleep, but adrenaline made exhaustion irrelevant. Today was the day that would determine everything. He showered carefully, combed his hair until every strand was in place, and put on the borrowed interview outfit that represented his best attempt at looking like he belonged in a corporate boardroom. The shirt was loose around his lean frame, a result of too many skipped meals to save money, but it was clean and pressed to perfection. His mother had already left for her early shift at the hospital, but she'd taped a note to the bathroom mirror. "You've got this, baby. Make them see what I see, pure gold." Noah folded the note carefully and tucked it into his portfolio alongside his resume and project samples. The bus ride downtown felt different than his usual commutes to work or school. Noah sat straighter, rehearsed answers under his breath, and watched the neighborhoods gradually shift from rundown to revitalized as they approached the business district. Each mile brought him closer to a world he'd only observed from the outside. He arrived in the downtown area 45 minutes early, exactly as planned. The morning air was fresh and cool, perfect weather for new beginnings. Noah found a coffee shop 3 blocks from Dalton Innovations and ordered the cheapest item on the menu, a small black coffee that cost more than he usually spent on lunch. Sitting by the window, Noah reviewed his notes one final time. He knew every detail about Dalton Innovations' recent projects, their quarterly reports, their leadership team's backgrounds. He'd practiced explaining how his community college coursework had prepared him for their entry-level engineering position. He was as ready as someone could possibly be. At 8:30 a.m., Noah began his walk to the Dalton building. His heart hammered against his ribs, but it was good nervous energy. The kind that sharpens your focus and makes everything feel more vivid. That's when the sky opened up without warning. What started as a light drizzle became a torrential downpour in seconds. Noah ducked under the nearest awning, watching sheets of rain transform the busy street into a blur of umbrellas and hurried footsteps. He checked his phone. 8:42 a.m. He had 18 minutes to reach the building, and the storm showed no signs of stopping. Noah pulled his thin jacket over his head and stepped back into the storm. Getting soaked wasn't ideal, but showing up late would be catastrophic. He walked quickly, focusing on staying calm and dry enough to make a professional first impression. That's when he saw her. A woman in a navy business suit was struggling with several heavy bags while trying to manage a broken umbrella that had clearly surrendered to the wind. She was maybe 40 feet ahead of him, moving slowly and obviously distressed. Rain was soaking through her professional attire, and she kept stumbling slightly on the slick sidewalk. Noah's first instinct was immediate and automatic. Help her. His second thought was equally immediate and terrifying. You have 15 minutes to get to the most important interview of your life. For a moment that felt like an eternity, Noah stood frozen in the middle of the sidewalk as rain pounded down around him. Other pedestrians rushed past the struggling woman, too focused on their own destinations to notice her predicament. Noah knew exactly what his mother would do in this situation. Maria had never walked past someone who needed help, even when helping cost her something she couldn't afford to lose. She'd given their last $5 to a homeless veteran, even when it meant they'd eat peanut butter sandwiches for 3 days straight. But this felt different. This wasn't $5. This was potentially his entire future. Pause the video right now and honestly tell me in the comments. Would you have stopped to help? Because Noah made his choice in that split second, and it revealed everything about who he really was. He ran toward the woman, his own discomfort forgotten. Here, let me help you, Noah called out, reaching for her heaviest bag while steadying her elbow with his free hand. The woman looked up at him with surprised gratitude. She was older than he'd initially thought, maybe in her 50s, with kind eyes and graying hair that was now plastered to her head by the rain. Thank you so much, she said, her voice carrying both relief and genuine warmth. I'm Claire Dalton. This storm caught me completely off guard. Noah introduced himself quickly, taking 2 of her bags while trying to position himself so she could get some protection from the wind. He didn't register her last name. He was too focused on getting both of them to shelter and then somehow making it to his interview on time. There's a cafe just ahead, Noah shouted over the storm. Let's get you dried off. Claire nodded gratefully, and they hurried together toward the warm lights of a small restaurant. Noah held the door open for her, noticing that her shoes were completely soaked and she was shivering despite her professional composure. Inside the cafe, Noah helped Claire settle into a booth near the back, away from the windows where rain was still hammering against the glass. He grabbed napkins from the dispenser and handed them to her without thinking. You're very kind, Claire said, dabbing at her wet hair. But you look like you were heading somewhere important yourself. Noah glanced at his phone. 8:51 a.m. 9 minutes. His stomach dropped. Even if he left right now, even if he ran the entire way, he'd be cutting it impossibly close. And he couldn't leave this woman stranded, soaked, and clearly shaken by the unexpected storm. I have an interview, Noah admitted, but making sure you're okay is more important right now. Claire studied his face with an intensity that made him slightly uncomfortable. There was something in her expression, not pity, but recognition, as if she was seeing something in him that he didn't even recognize in himself. Where's your interview? She asked gently. Dalton Innovations, Noah replied, and for the first time, he noticed the shift in Claire's expression. Something that looked almost like surprise, followed by what might have been amusement. But Noah was too focused on the clock to notice the significance of that moment. Time was running out, and with it, possibly his only chance at the life he'd worked so hard to build. The way Claire's expression shifted when Noah mentioned Dalton Innovations should have been Noah's first clue that this morning was about to become something extraordinary. But Noah was too busy calculating travel time and mentally preparing his apology for being late to notice the knowing look that crossed her face. All he could think about was the opportunity slipping away with each passing minute. Dalton Innovations, Claire repeated thoughtfully. That's quite a company. What position are you interviewing for? Junior software engineer, Noah answered, helping her organize her belongings while keeping one eye on his phone. It's everything I've been working toward. Claire nodded slowly, as if processing something important. Tell me about yourself, Noah. What makes you passionate about working there? Under normal circumstances, Noah might have found it odd that a stranger wanted to hear about his career goals while soaking wet in a cafe. But something about Claire's genuine interest made him want to answer honestly. I grew up watching my community struggle with basic needs that technology should be able to solve, Noah began, his nervousness about the time fading as he talked about something he truly cared about. My neighborhood has rolling blackouts every summer because the power grid can't handle the demand. Kids can't do homework after dark. Small businesses close early because electricity costs too much. Claire leaned forward, completely focused on his words. Dalton Innovations isn't just building technology. They're building solutions that could actually help places like where I come from, Noah continued. I want to be part of that. I want to use code to solve real problems for real people. That's beautiful, Claire said quietly. But tell me this. Why did you stop to help me when you have something so important waiting for you? The question caught Noah off guard. He'd never really thought about it analytically. I don't know, he admitted. My mom always taught me that how you treat people when nobody's watching says everything about who you really are. You needed help, and I couldn't just walk past that. Claire was quiet for a long moment, studying Noah's face with an intensity that made him wonder if he'd said something wrong. Finally, she spoke. Noah, I think what just happened here is more important than any interview. Life doesn't always follow a schedule, and kindness has a way of opening doors when you least expect it. Before Noah could ask what she meant, Claire pulled out her phone and made a call. Hi, Janet. This is Claire. I need you to reschedule my 9 a.m. meeting by about 30 minutes. Yes, something important came up. Thank you. She hung up and turned back to Noah, who was staring at her in confusion. How did you just? Who are you exactly? Noah asked. Claire smiled, the kind of smile that holds secrets and surprises. I'm Claire Dalton, she said simply. And I think we should head to my office for that interview. The words hit Noah like lightning. Dalton. Claire Dalton. As in Dalton Innovations. As in the woman who had built the company from nothing. As in the CEO whose biography he'd read 3 times while preparing for this interview. Noah's mouth opened, but no words came out. He stared at Claire, really looked at her. And suddenly everything made sense. The calm confidence despite the storm. The way she'd rescheduled a meeting with a single phone call. The knowing look when he'd mentioned the company name. You're the Claire Dalton? Noah managed to whisper. Guilty as charged, Claire laughed. Though I have to say, this is the first time I've conducted a pre-interview while soaking wet in a cafe. Noah felt like the world had tilted sideways. The woman he'd helped, the stranger he'd prioritized over his own future, was literally the person who could determine that future. I'm so sorry, Noah began, panic setting in. I had no idea who you were. I hope I didn't say anything inappropriate or... Noah, Claire interrupted gently. Stop apologizing. You just showed me something that no traditional interview could reveal. You demonstrated integrity, compassion, and the ability to put human needs before personal gain. Those qualities, they can't be taught. Claire stood up and gathered her things, which were now significantly drier thanks to the cafe's warm atmosphere. Now, how about we head to the office? I'd like to introduce you to my team. But I have to warn you, this might not be the interview experience you prepared for. As they walked toward the door, Noah felt like he was living in someone else's life. 20 minutes ago, he'd been a nervous college student worried about being late for an interview. Now he was walking with the CEO of his dream company, who seemed more interested in his character than his credentials. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle, but Claire had called for her driver to pick them up. As they sat in the back of a sleek black sedan, Noah tried to process what was happening. "Can I ask you something?" Noah said quietly. "Of course. Why are you giving me this chance? I mean, beyond just helping you with your bags. You don't know anything about my qualifications or experience." Claire turned to face him fully. "Noah, I've been running this company for 12 years. I've interviewed hundreds of candidates with perfect resumes, impressive GPAs, and flawless presentation skills. But here's what I've learned. Technical skills can be taught. Character can't." She paused as the car pulled up to a gleaming office building that Noah recognized from his research. "You had every reason to walk past me this morning. You had something important to lose, and helping me offered you nothing in return. But you stopped anyway. That tells me more about who you are than any interview question ever could. If this story is resonating with you, if you believe that character matters more than credentials, share it with someone who needs to hear that kindness always pays off." As they stepped out of the car and approached the entrance to Dalton Innovations, Noah realized something profound. He was no longer walking into this building as a desperate candidate hoping for a chance. He was walking in as someone who had already proven his worth in the most authentic way possible. But the biggest surprise was still waiting for him inside. Because Claire Dalton was about to show Noah that when you lead with your heart, opportunities don't just open up. They multiply in ways you never could have planned for. Walking through the glass doors of Dalton Innovations felt like stepping into the future Noah had only dared to dream about. The lobby was everything he'd expected from his online research: sleek design, natural lighting, and walls displaying patents and awards that represented years of groundbreaking work. But experiencing it in person, especially alongside the company's founder, felt surreal. Employees greeted Claire with the kind of respect that comes from genuine admiration, not fear. Noah noticed how she acknowledged each person by name, asking about projects and family members with authentic interest. This wasn't a CEO going through the motions. This was someone who truly cared about the people building her vision. "Before we head upstairs," Claire said, "I want you to meet two people who'll be crucial to your success here." She led Noah to a workspace where two people were deep in discussion over computer monitors displaying complex energy modeling software. Claire cleared her throat gently. "Marcus, Jennifer, I'd like you to meet Noah Carter." "Noah, this is Marcus Rodriguez, our chief engineer, and Jennifer Kim, our head of research." Marcus stood up first, a tall man with calloused hands that suggested he still worked with tools despite his executive title. "Noah, Claire mentioned you might be joining our team. What's your background?" Instead of the formal presentation Noah had rehearsed, he found himself having a genuine conversation. Marcus wanted to know about Noah's community college projects. Jennifer was curious about his perspective on energy accessibility in underserved communities. What should have been an intimidating interrogation became an engaging discussion about solving real-world problems. Noah forgot to be nervous because he was too excited talking about ideas that genuinely mattered to him. "Show him the solar project," Claire suggested to Jennifer. For the next 20 minutes, Noah was immersed in a world he'd only read about in textbooks. Jennifer walked him through Dalton's latest development, a solar panel system that could be manufactured and installed at half the current industry cost. The implications were staggering: affordable clean energy for communities that had been left behind by traditional power companies. "The engineering challenge isn't just efficiency," Marcus explained. "It's scalability and accessibility. How do we make cutting-edge technology work for people who can't afford cutting-edge prices?" Noah's eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of problem that kept him awake at night. Not from worry, but from excitement about potential solutions. "Have you considered modular installation approaches?" Noah asked, his natural enthusiasm overriding any remaining interview anxiety. If the panels could be deployed in phases based on community needs and budget cycles. He caught himself mid-sentence, suddenly remembering that he was supposed to be impressing these people, not questioning their methods. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize," Jennifer interrupted with a grin. "Keep going. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need more of here." For the next hour, what Noah had expected to be a formal interview became something entirely different. It was a collaboration session, a brainstorming meeting, a glimpse into what it would feel like to work alongside people who shared his passion for meaningful technology. Claire watched the entire interaction with the satisfaction of someone who had made exactly the right decision. She'd built Dalton Innovations on the principle that the best ideas come from diverse perspectives and genuine dedication, not just impressive credentials. Noah, Claire said as the impromptu meeting wound down, I have a question for you. What do you think is the most important quality for someone working in sustainable technology? Noah considered the question carefully. Empathy, he answered without hesitation. You can't solve problems for people you don't understand. All the technical skill in the world is worthless if you lose sight of who you're really trying to help. Marcus and Jennifer exchanged a look that Noah didn't quite understand, but Claire clearly did. I started this company 15 years ago, Claire said, settling into a chair across from Noah. I'd been working in traditional energy for a decade, watching brilliant engineers develop amazing technology that only benefited people who were already privileged. I wanted to build something different. She gestured around the office, where Noah could see diverse teams working on projects that would impact communities around the world. Building Dalton Innovations meant starting over, risking everything I'd built in my previous career, working 18-hour days for years while investors questioned whether sustainable energy could be profitable. But I believed that doing good and doing well weren't mutually exclusive. Claire paused, and Noah sensed she was building towards something important. The hardest part wasn't the technical challenges or the financial risk. It was finding people who understood that our mission is bigger than quarterly profits. People who would stop to help a stranger even when they had something important to lose. Noah felt his heart start racing again, but for different reasons now. I'm offering you an internship position, Claire continued. Full-time over the summer, part-time during the school year until you graduate. The salary will be enough to support yourself and help your mother reduce her hours. And if you prove yourself, which I believe you will, there'll be a permanent engineering position waiting for you after graduation. The offer hit Noah like a physical force. He'd walked into this building hoping for a chance to prove himself worthy of an entry-level position. Instead, he was being handed an opportunity that exceeded his wildest expectations. I don't know what to say, Noah stammered. Say yes, Marcus laughed. We need people who understand that technology should serve everyone, not just the wealthy. And Noah, Claire added with a smile, bring that same instinct that made you stop to help me this morning. That's not something you should leave at home. It's exactly what we need more of here. As Noah shook hands with his new colleagues, he realized something profound had just happened. His missed interview had become something infinitely better. An authentic connection with people who valued who he was, not just what he could do. But this was only the beginning of how dramatically his life was about to change. Noah's first day at Dalton Innovations started at 6 a.m., 2 hours before he was expected to arrive. He couldn't sleep anyway, and showing up early had become his signature move, a habit born from years of proving he deserved to be in spaces where he felt like an outsider. But as Noah swiped his new employee badge and walked through those glass doors as an official member of the team, something felt different. For the first time in his life, he wasn't fighting to belong somewhere. He was welcomed. Marcus became more than a supervisor. He became the mentor Noah never knew he needed. During their first week working together, Marcus noticed that Noah had been taking notes on everything. Meeting discussions, technical explanations, even casual conversations about industry trends. You don't have to memorize everything on day one, Marcus laughed, watching Noah frantically scribble during a software demonstration. I can't afford to miss anything, Noah replied seriously. This opportunity, I can't waste it. Marcus paused the presentation and turned to face Noah directly. Listen to me carefully. You're not here because we're doing you a favor. You're here because we need what you bring to this team. Stop acting like you have to earn your place every single day. You've already earned it. Those words unlocked something in Noah that he didn't realize had been locked away. Permission to belong. Permission to contribute ideas instead of just absorbing them. Permission to believe he deserved to be there. Within his first month, Noah had identified inefficiencies in their solar panel testing protocols that could reduce evaluation time by 30%. His solution was elegant and obvious, once he pointed it out. The kind of insight that only comes from someone who understands resource limitations intimately. Jennifer assigned him to the Community Deployment Project, where Dalton was piloting affordable solar installations in rural areas. Noah's background became his greatest asset. He understood the real barriers these communities faced because he'd lived those barriers. The technical specs looked perfect on paper, Noah explained during a team meeting 6 weeks into his internship. But rural communities don't have three-phase electrical systems or dedicated maintenance teams. We need to design for the reality of limited infrastructure, not the ideal of perfect conditions. His recommendations reshaped the entire project approach. Instead of trying to retrofit complex technology into simple settings, they redesigned the technology to match the environment it would actually serve. Claire often joined the Saturday sessions, sharing her own journey from struggling entrepreneur to successful CEO. She told the students about the failures, the rejections, the moments when giving up felt like the only rational choice. Success isn't about avoiding mistakes, Claire would tell them. It's about learning from every setback and refusing to let temporary defeats become permanent limitations. The program's impact extended beyond individual success stories. Local high schools started requesting presentations about technology careers. Community leaders began partnering with Dalton on projects that brought renewable energy directly into the neighborhood where Noah had grown up. The boy who used to study under streetlights was now helping to install LED street lighting powered by community solar grids. The teenager who'd worried about electricity bills was now designing energy systems that made power affordable for families just like his used to be. But perhaps the most powerful transformation was in how Noah understood his own journey. The struggle that had once felt like something to escape became the foundation for everything meaningful he'd accomplished. I used to think my background was a disadvantage, Noah told a group of college students during a career fair presentation. I thought I had to overcome where I came from. But I learned that my experiences weren't obstacles to success. They were the reason I could succeed authentically. The truth Noah discovered, and what he shared with every young person he mentored, was that setbacks don't disqualify you from greatness. They qualify you for a different kind of greatness. The kind that comes from understanding struggle, appreciating opportunity, and never forgetting that success means nothing if you're not using it to lift others up. 3 years later, Noah's mentorship program had expanded to 12 different communities. Over 100 young people had received scholarships, internships, or direct job offers through connections Noah helped them build. But the real measure of success wasn't in numbers or statistics. It was in the thank you letters from parents whose children now believed college was possible. It was in the graduation photos from students who'd never thought they'd make it past high school. It was in the knowledge that kindness, once given freely, multiplies in ways you can never predict or control. Noah had learned the most important lesson of all. When you change one life, you change every life that person will ever touch. And sometimes the person whose life gets changed the most is your own. 2.5 years after that rainy morning changed everything, Noah found himself standing in the same community center where he used to eat free lunch as a kid. But this time, he wasn't there as someone who needed help. He was there as someone ready to give it. The Future Engineers program was Noah's brainchild, a partnership between Dalton Innovations and underserved communities to provide mentorship, resources, and real pathways into technology careers. What started as Noah's personal mission had grown into a company-wide initiative that Claire supported with both funding and enthusiasm. How many of you have been told that kids from neighborhoods like this don't become engineers? Noah asked the group of 15 teenagers sitting in folding chairs, some skeptical, some hopeful, all carrying the same weight Noah remembered from his own youth. Almost every hand went up. Good, Noah continued, because I was told the same thing. And believing that lie almost cost me everything. Noah didn't sugarcoat his story. He told them about the electricity getting shut off, about walking miles to find places to study, about the constant pressure of knowing that his success or failure would determine his mother's future. But he also told them about the morning when helping a stranger led to the breakthrough he never could have planned. The most important lesson I learned isn't about coding or engineering, Noah explained. It's that your character will open more doors than your credentials ever will. But you have to develop both. 16-year-old Marcus. Noah had specifically requested that no one call him Marcus Jr. to avoid confusion with his colleague, raised his hand. But what if we mess up? What if we get one chance and we blow it? Noah smiled, remembering asking himself that same question every single day during his early years at Dalton. Marcus, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me when I was your age. There's no such thing as blowing your only chance, because if you're the kind of person who deserves opportunities, you'll create them wherever you go. The program met every Saturday morning. Noah taught basic programming concepts, but more importantly, he taught the mindset that had carried him through his darkest moments. He showed them how to research companies, how to build portfolios with limited resources, how to present themselves professionally without pretending to be someone they weren't. But the real magic happened during the one-on-one mentoring sessions. Sarah was a 17-year-old single mother who thought college was impossible until Noah helped her apply for scholarships and connect with programs specifically designed for young parents. Today, she's studying renewable energy engineering while her daughter attends the campus childcare program. David struggled with math anxiety until Noah spent months breaking down complex concepts into manageable steps. Now he's leading his high school's robotics team and has already received early acceptance to 3 engineering programs. Keisha thought her learning disability meant she couldn't pursue technical careers until Noah introduced her to assistive technologies and alternative learning methods. She's now developing mobile apps that help other students with similar challenges succeed in STEM fields. Comment below with your own story of unexpected kindness. I read every single comment, and these stories remind us all that compassion creates opportunities we never could have planned for. Each success story reinforced what Noah had learned from Claire. When you invest in people's potential instead of just their current abilities, you get results that exceed every expectation. Claire often joined the Saturday sessions, sharing her own journey from struggling entrepreneur to successful CEO. She told the students about the failures, the rejections, the moments when giving up felt like the only rational choice. Success isn't about avoiding mistakes, Claire would tell them. It's about learning from every setback and refusing to let temporary defeats become permanent limitations. The program's impact extended beyond individual success stories. Local high schools started requesting presentations about technology careers. Community leaders began partnering with Dalton on projects that brought renewable energy directly into the neighborhood where Noah had grown up. The boy who used to study under streetlights was now helping to install LED street lighting powered by community solar grids. The teenager who'd worried about electricity bills was now designing energy systems that made power affordable for families, just like his used to be. But perhaps the most powerful transformation was in how Noah understood his own journey. The struggle that had once felt like something to escape became the foundation for everything meaningful he'd accomplished. I used to think my background was a disadvantage, Noah told a group of college students during a career fair presentation. I thought I had to overcome where I came from. But I learned that my experiences weren't obstacles to success. They were the reason I could succeed authentically. The truth Noah discovered, and what he shared with every young person he mentored, was that setbacks don't disqualify you from greatness. They qualify you for a different kind of greatness. The kind that comes from understanding struggle, appreciating opportunity, and never forgetting that success means nothing if you're not using it to lift others up. 3 years later, Noah's mentorship program had expanded to 12 different communities. Over 100 young people had received scholarships, internships, or direct job offers through connections Noah helped them build. But the real measure of success wasn't in numbers or statistics. It was in the thank you letters from parents whose children now believed college was possible. It was in the graduation photos from students who'd never thought they'd make it past high school. It was in the knowledge that kindness, once given freely, multiplies in ways you can never predict or control. Noah had learned the most important lesson of all. When you change one life, you change every life that person will ever touch. And sometimes the person whose life gets changed the most is your own.